So in the wake of the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade, we have some new numbers here, and this is quite a shift. So this is from Jocelyn Kiley, who's the Associate Director of Pew Research. Look at this. 48% of Americans now have a favorable opinion of the Supreme Court. 49% unfavorable. A sharp drop in positive views from recent years. 65% viewed it favorably in 2021, 70% in 2020. In 30-plus years of polling, views of SCOTUS have never been more negative. Look at this, guys. Look at these numbers. This is crazy. This is crazy. So in 1987, it was 76% supported it. Had a favorable view, 17% unfavorable. It even in, the mid-1990s, 80% favorable, 16% unfavorable. Look at this. I mean, this is the worst it's ever been. Now, in, 2016? It was 48% favorable, 43% unfavorable. So now you have 49% favorable, which is a point higher, but 48% unfavorable. So it's higher unfavorables than it's ever been before. That's crazy. Look at this graph, man. So just one high-profile decision that cuts in the direction the American people don't want it to, and they're like, oh, so this is like, this institution is not holier than thou. I think the name, I genuinely believe this, the name, the Supreme Court, people hear this, oh, the Supreme Court. It's like they have dictates coming directly from the heavens or something. It's like, no, these are people, and they have their own political biases and beliefs, and even though they say, oh, no, I just interpret the law, a plain-faced reading of the Constitution, and implement it, that neglects the reality that there's disagreements about the plain-faced interpretation of the Constitution. And what your philosophy is in terms of how you make modern decisions in a modern world, given that document, which is very old, right? Like, there's reasonable disagreement about that. They just pretend like, no, we're above politics. No, you are inherently political. And also, their biases influence their decisions way more than they think it does. For the right and the left, right? So, but now you see, they're kind of crashing down to reality. So the other thing that's interesting is this. The Democratic side, 28% have a favorable opinion now of the Supreme Court. That's a historic low as well. And on the Republican side, it's 73%. So obviously more of them support it now because of the Roe versus Wade decision. But that Democrats falling off a cliff like that is interesting. Look, you have to say, regardless of your thoughts on judicial review and Marbury versus Madison, you do have to say, it is a tremendous amount of responsibility to basically give the Supreme Court veto power over what the executive branch and the legislative branch do. They would say it's just more the executive branch, right? But that's a tremendous amount of power to say the president the elected president of the United States could go down a certain path politically, and the Supreme Court could say, no, you're literally not allowed to do that because of our interpretation of the Constitution, which says this whole realm of policy discussion is off the table and not allowed. And that's effectively what they do on many issues, right? There's a lot of judicial scholars who say they don't think Marbury versus Madison was ruled correctly. Like, they don't think the power of judicial review is something that is real for the Supreme Court to do. That, in other words, the legislative branch and the executive branch, they're more of the final arbiter on this than the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can't decide, we don't think what you're doing jives with the Constitution. So, I don't know, it's interesting. I've heard Tom Hartman make arguments on this front, and I think he thinks judicial review is, because what it is if you spin it positively, it's a check and balance. But if you view it negatively, it's authoritarian, because it's striking down stuff that is democratically determined from one of the other branches, right? So it all depends on how you frame it and what you think of it. But honestly, in my opinion, when you look at it, it's like sometimes they get it right with judicial review, sometimes they get it wrong. But when they get it wrong, it feels particularly egregious because it's like you're giving this court of unelected people veto power over the direction of the country, which seems very extreme. It seems very extreme. But look, Roe versus Wade was a little different, of course, because you're talking about they're overturning their own precedent, which overturning precedent isn't inherently a bad thing unless the thing they're overturning was correct, right? But I happen to think Roe versus Wade was correct. It was reasonable. So to overturn that, I don't agree with. But just overturning precedent in and of itself being bad, I think is a stretch, because there are many precedents that have been overturned that have been good. It's been good that you overturn them. So anyway, tanking in popularity and favorability, and they earn that, and it's only going to go down more. But a weird point to end on here is they're still way more popular than other branches of government, which is crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. I think people, to one extent or another, have bought the line that, like, these aren't political actors. These are experts who take their own opinions out of it and go solely based on the law and the Constitution. I think a lot of people have bought that line. Clearly fewer now than were buying it before, but, there's something to think about there. Anyway, that's the gist of it. How low can they go? Well, we'll see. What other popular things are they going to strike down casually? We'll find out. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.